Welcome to Volume 2 of the Commercial Collection. We start our look at the rally scene, this time with a visit to Bromyard Gala in Herefordshire. This country show and steam rally always attracts a big entry of exhibitors, and we have a great lineup of commercial vehicles here today. Bromyard Gala is held on a 27-acre site and has something for everybody to see. So let's join the vehicles on parade. SB 8155 is a 1950s Guy Wolf with a 20-seat body by Ormac of Preston. This vehicle spent 20 years of its working life in the Glencoe area of Scotland. Followed by a Foden FG in the livery of Joint Motorways of Port Talbot. A Leyland Tiger PS1 with Harrington 35-seat bodywork, operated by Y Valley Motors. MOF9 is a 1953 Guy Arab 4 with Metropolitan Carmel bodywork. One of a large number operated by Birmingham City Transport and made to a standard design. Behind that is the 1948 Daimler CVD6 with a Metalcraft 33-seat body, originally operated by Eagle Coachways.
One of those lovely Birmingham Corporation. The Birmingham Corporation Guy, even I know it's a Guy.
3190UV, a 1960s Bedford SB with Plaxton Panorama bodywork.
One of the few that have really survived. Well, number 54.
Operated by Bristol Tramway and Carriage Company between 1948 and 1963 is this superb 1948 Bristol L5G with Brislington bodywork.
Well, in the livery of Development Motors, it's not with 10 Amos of Bristol. I got in terrible trouble last year.
Here we have a 1937 Daimler COG5, as operated by Birmingham City Transport, again being the pre-war predecessor to the Guy Arab 4. The Fisher's single-decker Crossley SD42-7, made in 1951. DVG 110 is a 1948 Leyland Beaver flatbed towing a crane drawbar trailer. This finely restored vehicle was once a National Health Service mobile X-ray unit.
Well, one of these immaculate trailer turnouts. Elizabeth Jane.
Another flatbed is LKA 369, a 1949 Leyland Hippo with a 1944 Dyson drawbar trailer. In the livery of Jacob's Biscuits, the original operators, the Hippo is a six-wheel version of the Leyland Beaver, and Dyson was the most popular drawbar trailers of its time.
Jacob's Biscuits at Liverpool covered 1,300,000 miles with one driver.
A 1939 Scammell Rigid 8. Note the authentic sheeted load on the back. This would have been a familiar sight on our roads in times gone by.
And in retirement, working through his living, carrying active collections of vintage tractors. W&J Riddick.
Our next vehicle on display was originally an NCB mines rescue vehicle, a 1958 Leyland Hippo, again this time owned by C.R. Middlebrook and Sons.
Beautifully turned out with a simulated load of probably on the Western for all these days.
A familiar sight to rallies in South Wales is this Scammell Highwayman ballast box tractor in the livery of Studs Funfair. WAP 397 is a Foden flat with S20 cab, a popular vehicle in the late 50s and early 60s. This has got a typical load on the back in the form of a reboard engine. An ex-Bristol Tramway 1957 Bristol LS bus, followed closely behind by an ERF LV series tractor unit from the mid-1960s. There's always a big military vehicle gathering at Bromyard, and just coming back from the parade ring now is a US-made Dodge weapons carrier known as a Beep. There's a Dutch-built DAF YA325 3-ton 6x6 truck from the 50s. Here we see a Willys Jeep, the British Austin Champ, and a World War II Scammell Pioneer heavy artillery tractor. The famous Hillman 10, followed by another Jeep. And behind that is an Austin K2 auxiliary towing vehicle, plus a Bedford OY 3-ton truck. Tractors have a good turnout at Bromyard, and this time is no exception. There's every type of tractor you can imagine, ranging from the biggest to the smallest. Here's a 1950s Ferguson, moving off smoothly and heading off into the show ring itself. a nice little red case tractor, FTJ 403. The little blue one is a Unihorse tractor made by Unihorse Limited of Smethwick from 1963 and is powered by a 420cc BSA engine. Well, it's coming to the end of the day now, and BDF 270 is a 1960s Scammell highwayman, once popular as tractor units for pulling low loaders and tankers. Now they're often seen in preservation in showman's livery, like this one here towing a live-in van. And if that's not big enough a load, what about this World War II tank? Or this lovely old traction engine pulling its live-in wagon up and out of Bromyard Showground for yet another year. We'll take to the air now to see exactly how big this Bromyard show really is. And as you can see, we've only touched on just a few of the vehicles on display here today. Our next stop is the Abergavenny Steam Rally in Gwent. Every spring bank holiday, Abergavenny hosts one of the biggest steam rallies in South Wales. And for 2 days, it's the place to be seen, whether you have a traction engine, car, bus or lorry. In fact, there's something for all the family to see. It's held at Bailey's Park in the centre of town, and Sunday morning sees the annual commercial vehicle parade through the town itself. Everybody likes to polish up their vehicles early in the morning before setting off on the journey ahead. Heading our parade of vehicles today are some of the many steam traction engines that attend every year. These old beauties, with their coloured lights and twisted brasses, have famous makers' names like Garrett's, Fowler, Aveling Porter and Burrell. And on a sunny day like today, you could easily imagine that you travel back in time to those elegant days of yesteryear. HHT 298 is a Foden STG5 timber tractor based on the DG-type diesel lorry and was widely used for timber work, particularly during World War II. VN 2911 is a 1931 Foden D-type steam tractor, originally operated by North Riding County Council. VAN 841, a nicely painted Scamell in the livery of Joe Davis of Wolverhampton. As well as commercial vehicles, the tractor enthusiasts also take to the road, and here's just a few of the many exhibits on show at Abergavenny. Named the Major and owned by John Sargent of Birmingham is another Scamell from the mid-1950s. Followed by a Scamell Explorer 6x6 heavy breakdown vehicle, a type introduced in 1952 for the British Army. Close behind that is a junior constructor heavy haulage tractor. This year sees a big Scamell entry, and the Invader is a Scamell heavy haulage tractor, the successor to the Constructor series from 1968. Here's a nice little Bedford O-type tipper lorry, once a familiar sight in the 1950s. The Ford Thames Trader, finished in the original Ford delivery colour of cargo grey. Some vehicles are starting to arrive back in the showground now. RRF 86 is a nice example of a Bedford O-type dropside lorry, complete with load. In the meantime, Gwent Fire Brigade usually provide views of the rally field from the top of this modern hydraulic escape platform. This is based on a Dodge chassis with cab forward of the front wheels for easy access. There's always fairground organs at Abergavenny. These beautifully carved masterpieces of engineering are a big attraction, and after the run itself there's plenty of enthusiastic members of the public who want to have a closer look at the exhibits. The auto jumble and bric-a-brac stalls also create plenty of interest. Let's take a look at what's entering the parade ring now and sit back and enjoy some of these mighty masters of transport.
I'm sure you can remember local people when traders and followed by Rolls Royce. The Leland. What more baby? I know it's one. And it goes. What sort of engine is it? 8-cylinder petrol. Go on, did I ask? 10 people. Now, Ray, the modest Tony van. Can you tell me, John? Anything. Van. Thank you very much, sir. Another big daddy, the scam on contractor. Enormous distances they were in their day and weeks. Good Lord. Good Lord, you surprised me. What sort of power is that like out? We don't know. Well, I don't, so we'll leave it at that. Okay, thank you very much. Here, ladies and gentlemen, what a massive thing.
Well, this Foden 8-wheeler brings us to the end of our look at commercial vehicles at Abergavenny Steam Rally. And I think you'll agree that it's definitely worth a visit. We move now to Singleton Park in Swansea for our Meet the Owner spot as we take a look at an unusual Austin Ruby van from the 1930s.
This is supposed to be a fun day out.
Well, from green to cream, we've now joined Mrs. Mary Hunt. Mary, where have you come from today?
Brynmawr.
Which is in Gwent.
Yeah, on the heads of the Valley Road.
And we've got behind us an Austin 7 Ruby Special van.
Yeah.
What's the background behind this?
Well, my brother-in-law Don, we share the ownership of the car. He was looking, in the papers for a registration number, and this was advertised in the paper.
Oh.
So he made inquiries to the whereabouts of the van and found it was in Lincolnshire, actually to be found in a barn, chickens nesting in it, and this was the condition of the car when we first saw it.
We've got some photographs here that will actually give us some background. What's the top left one there?
Here's Don.
Right. Perhaps I can explain something. Right. She just told that we went the other side of the country to East Anglia to get it, and that's the way we brought it down on a trailer. Eventually, if you can get it on camera, it was stripped down to that, and we decided that instead of a Ruby car, which you see plenty around here today, we'd have a van, as Mari just said, to advertise the business. And so it was broken down. A chap called Pat Ford, who actually rebuilds vans only as a hobby and has done it all his life, He looked at it and he says, I don't know what the devil I can do with it, but we'll have a crack. And indeed, this is what he did. He stripped it all down, welded all new parts in, and consequently, it finished up like that. Then it went to be lettered, and here we have it today. And it's a remarkable vehicle, and there's not many about in the whole of the country, as you probably know. And it does arouse a lot of interest wherever we take it, and we like to exhibit it. It's all part of our fun.
Don, I see from the letterhead there that it's you're actually using it for your own business. Marigold Theatrical Costumiers.
Yes, we're theatrical costumiers in Bromyard. We do shows all over the country, Theatre Royal York, Swansea Grand. We just finished doing the Swansea Grand, and we dress the shows, you see. And whilst we obviously don't take too many costumes around in this little van, we have other vans, and we travel up and down the country. Mari's, when she's not washing the Austin 7, she's a designer of costumes, and wonderful costumes, period costumes or whatever. And we've got about 20,000 costumes in Bromyard. And we, as I say, do the Grand Theatre here at Swansea. We do the New Theatre at Cardiff. And as far as field as York, the Theatre Royal York and Theatre Royal Bath, we're just going into now to do a show. So we travel the country, as I say, not with this van particularly, no. But this is part and parcel of the whole. I mean, this is a nice little gimmick van that we tend to take around, and it's just of general interest to everyone, and our hobby anyway. You know.
Excellent.
But Mari and I are both sort of partners in the business, and it gives us a lot of joy. As you can see, she's cleaning it, and I've had some of the dirty work of building it along with a friend of mine. So there we are. That's about it. Really, it's about all there is to say about it. You know.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks very much for talking to us, Don.
All right, my pleasure. Thank you very much.
One of the good things about the commercial collection is that it allows us to meet as many people as possible associated with vintage and commercial transport. One such person is Alan Jones, who, in 1963, started working for the Metoy Company in Swansea. Now, 30 years later, he's the managing director of Oxwich Design. I began by asking Alan how the present company formed.
Well, the company was formed about 10 years ago when the Metoy Company finished and I was made redundant. And I thought I might start something on my own. It wasn't long before the newly formed Corgi Company asked me to be a freelance model maker with them.
And how many staff do you currently employ here?
Well, at the moment it's just my son Ian and myself.
Alan, I noticed that we've got a model of the Mumbles train there on the desk. Has it actually been built by yourself?
Yes, actually this was the first model that we made together, and it took us 9 months of hard work, and there are 100 pieces in it actually.
Let's talk about accuracy for a second. How accurate does it have to be for the model collector?
Well, the model collector himself is a very keen gentleman, and he knows how many rivets are on the side of the truck or the train or whatever it is. So we've got to be pretty accurate or we'll soon be pulled up about it.
What scale are we talking about on that?
This is 1/50th.
And it's got quite an historical link with the city of Swansea itself, hasn't it?
Yes, it was the oldest passenger railway in the world, and very nostalgic for the people of Swansea, and that's why we made it the first model we were going to bring out.
How long did it actually run in Swansea?
It ran from 1804 until 1960, when it was just the lines were pulled up and they extended the roadway down to the Mumbles. That was part of the reason it was taken away.
And it was actually operated by a local company, wasn't it?
Yes, South Wales Transport, amongst others. It was a number of companies, but South Wales Transport were the last proprietors.
We've got a couple of other models here on the desk as well. Let's talk about those for a second. In particular, the fact that Oxwich Design was formed specifically for the collector market. As we can see, they're not children's toys. What's the background to those models there? How were they built, for example?
Well, we obviously got to try and choose a vehicle that's not done by the big commercial companies such as Corgi and Leslie and people like that. And we landed on the first one was the AEC Regal 3, which we thought was a rather attractive model and from the 40s. I built it in plastic first as a master, and then we make silicone rubber molds from that. And when we pour the resin in. All the parts are assembled afterwards and painted, and that's the finished article.
How long would one of those actually take you to build?
It varies, sometimes a day and a half, 2 days possibly.
Do you work from plans as such?
Yes, we get as much photographic evidence. Sometimes you cannot get plans anymore, but there's quite a lot of photographic evidence around, and I just have to balance it out with my eye. If I haven't got a detail on it, use imagination sometimes.
What do you think draws people, Alan, to collect these types of models?
I don't really know. They're nice to look at. I think it's nostalgia mainly. It takes them back to their youth perhaps, or picnics they used to go on and that sort of thing in those days, and which they don't anymore. But some of them, quite a lot of the people, are people who worked on these buses. They were fitters or they were drivers or whatever. We get a lot of drivers coming back for models.
So many happy memories then?
Oh yes, yes.
What are your current projects? What are you working on at the moment?
Well, this is the latest one, which is the AC Renown, which is again very nostalgic in Swansea because of the hilly routes we had, where they put on a second wheel on the back, which was would only go one way, forwards, and if the bus broke down on the hill, it couldn't run backwards down the hill. But they also had them in London, and this is the last one that we've brought out. This is the master, by the way. We haven't started making the rubber molds yet.
What year are we talking about the London one there?
The London one, this one is around about 1948, between 1945 and 52, 53.
Well, that was Alan Jones from Swansea-based Oxwich Design talking about the world of models. Now it's back to the action on the commercial collection. Well, I'm sure everybody would like to find out more about this rather unusual combination of a vintage lorry and an organ. Brian Newth is with me now. Brian, tell us a little bit more about this particular vehicle.
Well, it's an Austin LD 1 ton, 1956.
And how long have you actually owned this particular model?
About 27 years.
Storing it must be a problem, isn't it?
Well, I've got a bigger shed, which is about 85 foot long. So I got 2 more organs in there.
Now, did you actually find it in the condition that we see it in today?
I bought it off of a friend of mine that it was in an immaculate condition with the books of music and all with it, and the generator all complete.
Now, regular visitors to steam fairs as we have today and steam rallies, that sort of thing, we often see fairground organs, but a lot of people don't realise what goes on behind the scenes. Tell us, how does it actually work?
Well, it's, as you see, cardboard going through the key frame, and there's bellows providing the wind, and then there's pipes connected up to the key frame, which each note that goes over on the cardboard, which is cut out, that automatically makes that note work. And it's a 46 keyless organ.
This particular model, how many tunes could it play?
Well, we've got here roughly about 90. But you can still get the music cut.
Well, Brian, going back to the lorry itself for a moment, it's an Austin LD 1 ton van.
Yes.
What's the original history behind it?
I could not tell you. The only thing I can give you, the information that, as far as I know, it belonged to the Express Dry Cleaning Laundry at Amersham. And whether they had it new or what, I could not say.
How do you find it miles per gallon on the roads, for example?
Roughly on a journey about 25.
Now, it's a pretty breezy day here in Wiltshire. How do you find the stability of the organ on the back here?
Oh, that doesn't doesn't affect it at all. It steers beautifully. I haven't got no qualms at all about that. As a matter of fact, I prefer to drive that than one of the newer cars.
OK, Brian Neath, thanks very much for talking to us. This is Victoria Gardens in the heart of Neath, and I'm waiting to go on a very special bus journey. A journey back to a time when you could travel from Neath to Cardiff for just 3 shillings and 9 pence return. The operators of this particular service had such a long-lasting effect on its passengers that it's still remembered to this very day, 60 years later. So why not join me on a journey back in time? Our starting point at Neath today is also the beginning of our journey back in time. We've brought back an original N&C coach for our trip down memory lane. WWN 191 is an AEC Reliance with a Harrington body, built in 1960. It's one of only 2 surviving N&C coaches in the country, and amazingly it's still used to this very day to carry passengers on day trips by the Classic Coach Company based in High Wycombe, who've brought the vehicle down from Windsor in Berkshire, especially for us today. The N&C story starts back in the 1930s, when a small private company challenged in direct competition, on a parallel route, the Great Western Railway and the 2 powerful bus companies of the time, Western Welsh and South Wales Transport. It was an example of what private enterprise can do. The fare from Neath to Cardiff was set to attract the maximum amount of travelling public so that it would earn N&C the greatest possible revenue. It was such a success that the fare remained unaltered for the first 20 years or so of the company's history. The price of 3 shillings and 9 pence from Neath to Cardiff became legendary. The first service commenced operation with a departure from Neath at 8:40 a.m. on the 2nd of April 1930, using 2 20-seater Morris Viceroy vehicles supplied by C.K. Andrews Limited. They carried the name N&C Luxury Coaches, which was to become N&C shortly after. The company at this time was managed by Mr. J.H. Williams and assisted by Mr. H. Paulson, who had both put capital into the firm, which was backed by C.K. Andrews Limited through Colonel R.G. Llewellyn, who supplied the licences and vehicles to operate the service. The N&C also built up a thriving parcel service, with agents established in the principal towns along the route. Customers could put a parcel on at Neath and have it delivered to any of the towns en route to Cardiff. And so the stage was set for N&C luxury coaches to become one of the legends in public transport, to such an extent that it's still remembered vividly in the 1990s. The success of the Neath to Cardiff service far exceeded all expectations, and yet brought the company near to bankruptcy. Because the demand was so great, the early Morris vehicles proved quite unsuitable and unable to stand up to their severe hammering. The maintenance costs became astronomical for N&C. Also about this time, there were many changes taking place in the company. Mr. J.J. Newbury was appointed General Manager, and Colonel R.G. Llewellyn took control as Managing Director. Therefore, Messrs. Williams and Paulson ceased to have any financial interest in the company, due to the failure of the Morris vehicles. There's many a tale told by former members of N&C staff of having to change the big end bearings daily due to the tremendous workload placed on the buses. A change to Dennis Lancets with 32-seater bodies and Gloucester Gardner engines were found to be very speedy machines, thus enhancing the company's reputation with the travelling public for providing an efficient and fast express service. Looking back at the N&C story, there are some notable events that changed the whole structure and destiny of the company. In 1947, the Longford Manufacturing and Coach Builders Company was formed by the then owners of N&C, and a long association with the Longford Coachworks was formed, and many N&C bus bodies were manufactured and repaired there, as well as making bodies for other bus companies. 1953 saw the sale of the company to the British Electric Traction Group known as BET, who, at the time, had extensive interests in the various bus companies throughout the country. October 1955 saw the then new Briton Ferry Bridge open to traffic, thus making the Swansea to Cardiff service via Briton Ferry Bridge even faster. In November 1963, the new garage and office block was opened at Briton Ferry, and the old James Street garage was vacated, providing excellent facilities and improving the service once again. But the end of the 60s brought about much unrest to the N&C service. Rumours of nationalisation and takeovers were rife. A number of one-day strikes and overtime bans were held by the road staff, which disrupted the service. Then, on the 9th of January 1971, the garage at Briton Ferry was closed and the company was absorbed into the South Wales Transport Group. The remaining staff and vehicles were transferred to the former United Welsh garage in Swansea. Prior to the closure in 1971 of the Neath and Cardiff depot at Briton Ferry, a mourning card was posted on the staff notice board quoting the following anonymously. In days of old, when knights were bold and hearts were fancy-free, June 1930 thereabouts was formed the N&C. A scintillating service this by everyone adored. Alas, the jewel now is dimmed, by the NBC 'tis flawed. But we shall not forget you, that gallant breed of men. Goodbye, good luck to all the staff. R.I.P. and Amen.